So, continuing the previous topic where we left out, we are going back into talking about the manufacturing systems and how the productivity is linked with the manufacturing systems. And in the previous slide, we have already seen the manufacturing system as a transformation process. We call it as a conversion of raw materials into desirable products, and this conversion process is what we call as a transformation process. So, when you think about it, you can think about the manufacturing system like this. Okay, let's call this as the manufacturing system. Okay, and this has, the manufacturing system has inside the transformation process. Okay, so the transformation process has both. Okay, it has inputs that are coming into the system and what you have outputs. Okay, these outputs goes to the what you call as the consumer or customers. So, the transformation process takes the inputs, which is the manufacturing system, and converts it into outputs. What are these outputs? Outputs are mostly goods and services. So, the outputs are in the form of goods and services. And what are the inputs? So, there are a long list of inputs. Majority of the inputs are land, then there is people or what we call as workforce in the, okay, some people call it as man also. Then there is capital, the other way to think about it is money. Okay, then facilities, okay, some people call it as factories also, okay, or the places where this happens. Then you can think about it as equipment. The colloquial term for equipment is machines. Okay, then we have is tools. Okay, they are also combined with the machines, so that is, some people call it as machine tools. Okay, this term is also used, it means machines and its tools. Then you have energy. Okay, this is the one that drives the machines. Then you have is materials, or some people call it as popularly known as raw materials. Then we have also what we have is information. Okay, information about the process and other things, or what tool to use, what is the raw material, things like that. So, all these inputs gets fed into what we call as the transformation process, and the transformation process produces what we call as outputs, which are goods and services which are given to the customer, and the customer is the one that provides the need. Okay, the customer need is judged, and then the product or service is designed. Product or service is designed as per the requirements of the customer. Okay, as per the customer requirements, the product or service is, or the goods or service is designed, and then this transformation process produces that. The question that we have is, where is this productivity? How manufacturing system is linked with the productivity, and this linkage happens right here. Okay, I will call it like this. Okay, P is equal to O over I. Okay, so this is where the productivity and manufacturing systems are linked. If you really want to visualize it, it is the ratio of outputs to inputs, or in a way you are saying that what percentage of the outputs are being generated by the inputs, which are in the form of land, man, money, factories, machines, machine tools, energy, raw materials, information, etc. All these things are fed into the transformation process, and how efficiently. So, the productivity to a large extent measures how efficiently we do it, how efficiently outputs are generated from the inputs. Okay. So, that is the major aspect of the productivity measure. So, this is how you can think about as a manufacturing system and the productivity getting integrated. This is the integration. This part is where we are integrating both manufacturing and productivity. Now, productivity improvement, okay, that is another major topic of manufacturing. Okay, and let us talk about productivity improvement really quickly, because this is important for us to talk about this in the sustainable or the green manufacturing system. Typically, the productivity improvement PI, what is typically called as, is the result of managing and intervening in the transformation process, the transformation or work process, or we can call it as the conversion process or conversion process. Okay. So, what we are talking about is we are managing or intervening in the transformation or the conversion process. So, we are getting into this process and then we are trying to do something. Okay. The rule of managing is that managing implies measuring or quantifying and then improving. Okay, that is what we talk about as managing in this regard. So, if you can think about it as the PI, the productivity improvement will occur. Okay, the majority of the time the productivity improvement will occur if you can think about it as the output. Okay, PI is, we remember, PI is the ratio of outputs over inputs. So, if you do this, increase the output and decrease the input. So, this is increase the output and decrease the input. If you do that, then the value of productivity will go up. Okay. Since the numerator is increasing and denominator is decreasing, this ratio, this value of PI will increase. Okay. Then the second option is increase the output. Okay. And you do this, which is maintain the same level of input. Okay. So, what we are saying is that while the input level remains constant, the output is increased, or the denominator remains constant and the numerator increases. If that is the case, still then the value of productivity improvement will go up. Then there is another way to think about it is this. Okay. Then where increase by a large value and we do a increase by a much small value. You might not be able to stop the inputs from increasing, but the rate at which the input, so this one is we are talking about is the rate of increase of output is greater than rate of increase of input. Okay, we talk about it as much greater than. So, you increase the output by a numerator by a much large quantity, while the increase in the denominator or the input is by a very small quantity. If you do that, then your productivity will also improve. Then the third one is this, not the third one, the fourth one is this. Okay, maintain the output level, output at same level. Okay. So, you are maintaining the output at the same level. In the same time, you can basically think about it as reduce inputs. Okay. So while you are not increasing, so the numerator value remains the same, the output remains the same, but you are trying to reduce the inputs. Okay. Or to a large extent, this kind of an approach is what people call it as lean manufacturing. That you don't focus on increasing the output, you maintain the same output, but consume less to produce the same output. So that means you are reducing the wastage, and in that process, you are actually trying to achieve what we call as a lean system. Okay. Then there is another one, which is you reduce the output, but you reduce the input drastically. So decrease by a large value. Okay. Here decrease by a small value. So what we are saying here is that the rate of decrease, okay, the rate of decrease of the input is way much higher than the rate of decrease of the output. So the denominator reduces at a much large value compared to that of the output, thereby resulting in the productivity to be improved. So these are the 5 options. The first option again is increase the output, decrease the input. So your PI will increase in this regard. The other option is increase the output, well, maintain the same level of input. So your productivity improvement will also be positive in this regard. You increase the output by a very large value while only increasing the input by a very small value. So the productivity improvement will also grow up by a large value. Then you maintain the same level of output while reducing the inputs large value. So then what happens is your productivity improvement will happen in this case also, and you can decrease the output by a very small value, in the same time decrease the input by a very large value, which will also result in improving your productivity. So when people talk about productivity improvements, these are the 5 options in which you can achieve productivity improvement in the system. Okay. Then the next topic that we would like to talk about today is what are the objectives of manufacturing. Okay. So we talk about it in 2 ways. We talk about the traditional objectives. Okay. So in the time immemorial, when people were talking about it as this is just looking at the transformation, okay, from productivity angle. Okay, we are just looking at the productivity angle. So the major objectives of manufacturing traditionally have been 3. They include increase the output of high value added products. Okay, so we are saying that increase the output, at all costs increase the output of the high value added products as the first option or the first objective. The second objective is produce high quality goods and services produce high quality goods and services in an economic and time bound fashion, or we call it as quickly, time bound fashion. Okay. So what we are saying is that we have to produce high quality goods and services in an economic and time bound fashion. So economic is the cost and time bound is the time or like duration to manufacture the goods. So you take the as short of a time as possible and produce it at a cheaper rate. That is what the second most objective of the traditional manufacturing has been. Then the third one is produce goods that are needed and wanted. Okay. So need and want are two different things, because need is something that is necessary, this is necessary, okay. This is more like on top of necessary. So this is like you want I need food but I want sweet kind of a thing, okay. So sweet is not a necessary thing ideally speaking, but it's more of a luxury in that regard. So ensure that you deal with the basic needs and as well as the luxurious needs as well. So produce the goods that can satisfy such kind of needs. So these are the needs of the customer, okay. Ideally speaking, we are talking about the customer in this regard. Now when we talk about the green manufacturing, then the objectives do change from the traditional manufacturing. While the traditional objectives do remain there, what we are talking about is in the green manufacturing, the objectives get a different flavor, or it is somewhat different as that of the traditional manufacturing. So the first major objective in this one will be the minimize the production of greenhouse gases, okay. So this is the carbon dioxide and all those kind of things, or this is what we call as global warming impact. So in the green manufacturing, one of the main things is reduce or minimize the production of greenhouse gases, so that the impact of global warming can be reduced. That is one of the first green objectives in manufacturing. Then the second one is maximize recycling, okay. So one other objective in this regard is you maximize recycling, or in a way you try to recycle and ensure it is what we call as increase the life cycle, increase product life cycle in one form or the other, okay. Like newspaper becomes newsprint, which can be used to make corrugated boards for packaging, which can be later used to make some another product that way, okay. Then we also talk about eliminate waste, or eliminate or minimize waste, okay. So this is the lean approach, okay, or what we are trying to say is lean approach. Ensure that the waste in both product and process, both type of waste, it includes even the time and other aspects, should be eliminated. Then the fourth one is conserve raw materials, okay. So the conservation aspects, so ensure that your raw material, so it is like ensure its availability for future generations, okay. So we don't just consume and exhaust everything, the future generations also have a chance to do the same thing by conserving the raw materials, okay. Now then the fifth alternative is minimize energy consumption during production. When you are producing goods and services, ensure that you minimize the energy consumption, or you are reducing the energy, because energy is one of the inputs in this regard. Then 6, develop products or services, products that consume minimal energy during operation. Okay. So what happens is make products or build products that consume lesser energy compared to the typical one. An example of it is fuel efficient cars. Build cars that are highly fuel efficient, so that it will only consume less fuel, or in a way less energy is required for operating this vehicle. Then 7th one, eliminate non-eco-friendly, eliminate non-eco-friendly processes in manufacturing. So, what we are saying here is that whatever is the non-eco-friendly processes that are available in the, or you are following in the manufacturing, eliminate them. So, the main green objectives, once again going through that, is you are trying to minimize the greenhouse gas emissions so that your global warming can be reduced, and you want to maximize the recycling, so that in which you are trying to focus on the product life cycle of the system. You are trying to eliminate or minimize the waste, okay, which is more like resulting in a lean approach both in the cases of the product and process, and have a lean process. You are conserving the raw materials, which means for future generations you are thinking about the sustainability of it. Future generations will also get a chance to build the same thing, and you are trying to minimize the energy consumption during production. So, find a way to reduce the energy that is used during productions, and then the develop products that consume minimal energy, or in a way whatever the product that you are building during its operation, ensure that it consumes minimal energy, okay. Then eliminate non-eco-friendly processes in the manufacturing, okay. So, what happens is in the manufacturing, whatever processes you follow, you ensure that there are no process which is non-eco-friendly, or it is creating a scenario in such a way that it is harming the environment in this process. So, these objectives, these green objectives are quite different when compared to the traditional objective of the manufacturing, okay. So, the traditional objectives focus is on productivity, okay. The green objectives, the focus is on sustainability, okay. That is the main difference that you need to understand between the traditional manufacturing and the green manufacturing. While one emphasizes on productivity the most, the other emphasizes on sustainability the most, okay. So, with this, what we have done is we have come to the conclusion of the first major topic of the introduction part of this course, and what we will do is we will have a brief discussion about product life cycle in the next class. We could not cover that in today's class, and once we finish the product life cycle, we will go into what is optimization and what are some of the important techniques and tools of optimization that you need to understand. And then I will also give you a brief idea about statistics that are required for this course, and then in that process then we will get into the other advanced topics of this course. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Please go through the lecture slides once again and do your assigned reading, and have fun focusing on green manufacturing systems, which are the need of the hour, because otherwise what will happen is the greenhouse gas or the global warming will actually make this world not livable for us. So, let us ensure that we do sustainable manufacturing or green manufacturing for the future generations. It is our responsibility. Thank you very much.